This is TWiT.
It is awesome. It really is. It's great.
Yeah.
So thank you to Intel for loaning to me. That was a huge mistake.
You know,
Wait a minute, it came from Intel?
campaign.
No.
Yeah.
No, you should tell that story. Can you, or is that like an NDA thing?
Yeah.
How
No, I
you
can
got
talk about
this?
it. Yeah. No, Intel
I've heard
contacted
from
me.
other reporters. They didn't offer me one.
Yeah, Rich is
Intel
doing this
offered
too.
people M1 Macs?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So what Intel is doing is saying, like, look, we want you to just do the honest review thing that you do. You can here's a list of Intel Evo based PCs you can get for review purposes, right? And just compare it to an M1 based MacBook Pro. And so they're
That was
supplying
a
both
big
of those.
mistake, I think.
Well, I mean, I don't want to ruin my the surprise coming at the end of all this, but
okay.
well, no. But I will say this because I've said this before. In all of the discussions we've had about the M1 Mac and Macs and all the stuff that Apple's done and how amazing it is and what does this mean to Intel and to the industry and to Windows users, ultimately for Windows users, I honestly don't think it means that much. And I've said that before, and I think that's gonna. I still feel that way as I go. Like I said, the M1 based MacBook Pro is fantastic. It's an awesome computer. If I was spending my own money, I would spend $300 less and get a MacBook Air. But whatever, it's a great computer. It works great, but it's a Mac. It's still a Mac. I mean, and there are limitations with regards to peripherals you can use and the number of displays you can use if that's important to you. The amount of RAM you can add, and there's all this stuff. And yeah, Apple will fix this stuff over time, but it's not the slam dunk that I think a lot of people make it out to be. The MacBook Pro is pretty much silent, which is amazing. But is that like a game changer, or is that just kind of nice? And is it nice enough to make you switch platforms? For me, no. But maybe for some people, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
It is
the
nice,
people who
but-
notice it most are people who are using the Intel Macs moving to
Yes.
M1 Macs.
Especially if you're using a MacBook Air, which in the version I had before this had a fan system that wasn't attached to anything. So when you when the fan had to come on, it would make lots of sound, but it wasn't pulling anything down.
They're
I
noisy.
don't know what it was blowing. It was just
No, they're noisy, and same with the MacBook Pros. And if you started doing anything,
new
including
ones are
just
not.
surfing, it could get very loud. So I think those people are saying this is amazing.
Yes. Yeah. But
And
from
there
a
are
win-
definitely
look,
speed benefits. I mean, Apple's comparing, M1 to Intel on an Apple. I don't know about.
Yeah, no, that's right. And to me, I would say the most positive thing to me is not the fan. It's like an alacrity at which apps launch.
Snappy. Yeah.
It's like they can't jump up fast enough.
Yeah,
The
snappy.
display is almost the limitation on how fast it can be.
And battery life.
It is snappy.
You must love the battery life.
Battery life is good.
Yeah.
But I have lots of PCs that good battery life. This battery life is not a game changer for me, but I bet it is for Mac.
It is for me. I hardly ever plug it in. I mean, if I forget at night,
No, the
it
battery
doesn't
life is
matter.
very good.
Yeah.
I wish I could measure
Also,
it
Paul,
better.
I got to say on battery life, I don't know how you do it, but you get battery life out of Windows PCs that I could never get.
Yeah,
Like you're always
I
saying to
think,
me, I got like
Notepad
10
is
hours
not
or 12.
optimized, for the battery.
You need a
No, I'm just always like, wait, I'm like getting 6 and you're getting 10 hours. Like that's a big difference.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So one thing I should do with your, actually, that's interesting. Maybe someday I'll have you send me a battery report from your computer.
Yeah.
That you
See
use
what
all
she's
the time
doing,
and
yeah.
just compare
Because
it.
my Surface laptop, I might get like 5.5 hours.
So I wonder
on that. And
if that matches what the battery report says is your typical battery life, right? It would be interesting if it was off by 50% or something. I mean, I'm just curious.
It's off by
we'll do that.
50%. I'm always like half of what Microsoft claims, even in their newly revised numbers where they don't say continuous video playback, but they say average daily use. I'm half of it easily.
Yeah. I mean, Windows makes it easy to measure it. It's not as easy on the Mac, but I not to keep talking about
we should
Apple,
do
but
that.
one thing,
No, we should do that.
Apple does
Because
a better
I'm
job of
curious.
reporting real life battery life values.
Yeah. But I thought Intel's PR strategy of doing this was kind
fascinating,
of like risky.
I think
but that's why I like it, and I said this to them. I'm glad you're doing this because the silence, is not helping.
It's taking it on.
It looked bad. It looked bad.
Apple has devoured this past quarter of news cycle with processor stuff. I mean, it's like Apple. Why does it always have to be about Apple? I mean, they have done something incredible. So, what is Intel doing to respond to it? And I think Intel reminding the industry, hey, by the way, there are all these other benefits. Let's not forget about let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater or whatever. Because I mean, the processor is cool. It is cool, but just like everything else Apple does, there are pros and cons to this approach. Anyway, so I'm just, I'll whatever. I mean, Intel sent me a Mac. It's kind of weird, but
you aren't the only one. You sent them to a lot of reporters.
Yeah, no, of course I'm not the only one. Yeah, no, you're right.
No, but I mean, I was just stunned when I started hearing people say this. I was like, wait, Intel sent you this?
So I'm talking to them again late this week, but we might actually have Ryan Schrout.
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 Our former host of This Week in Computer Hardware. He's now at Intel.
Yeah, so he was like a good source of mine before he went to Intel. He was a really good guy to talk to about hardware. Now he works for Intel, so he's completely compromised. No, he's a great guy. Hopefully him or somebody else will come on here someday. So
that'd be great. I'm sure Ryan
they can explain it themselves.
If Intel would let him, I'm sure Ryan would do that. You know what? It's obvious. They're going to get much more attention for being gutsy enough to do that.
Yeah. Agree.
And then nobody's going to pay that much attention to the results because, but they'll get a lot of it. I
hope people pay attention to the results.
They'll get bonus points for saying, and people will say in their heads, well, maybe there isn't that big a difference if Intel was willing to do that.
Or they'll remind them of things that people are glossing over, like peripheral compatibilities and things like that, right?
Right. And that's a big part of the push. It's like, and the other thing they raise is an issue I raised right up front when they did that initial M1 presentation where they said, it's 80% faster than the latest Intel or the latest, best-selling PC, whatever. It's like, wait, I'm sorry, what are you comparing it to? I mean, they're comparing it to a lot of nothing. So that stuff still kind of bugs me, but anyway, Intel has their own story to tell. I'm not going to tell it for them, but I will, do what I do myself, which is just review things and just be honest about it, whatever. So I'm sure in some cases it's not going to be exactly what Intel wants, and that's what I said to them right up front. I said, just to be clear,
I'm sure they know that. I'm sure
I'm not delivering an Intel victory here.
And I'm sure no,
it's a risk. It's a calculated risk, right?
Yep.
It's a good. Some smart PR person did that. It's a smart PR move.
And they could use it, honestly. Intel's had a tough year. And from a perception perspective especially. So I like to see them on the offensive at the very least. And that was the big thing I kind of communicated to them. I'm just happy you're doing this regardless of the outcome because you need to stand up for yourself.
That's interesting. And, the mistake they made, I didn't know about this. They needed to really tell everybody. I think they were hoping you guys would go, you won't believe what Intel just did.
Other people were telling me, and they're like, are you getting one? And I'm like, no, but I'm not really the right audience for this.
No, they want benchmarkers.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, well, actually, so that it's interesting you say that. So one of the things I really liked in what they communicated to me was that they're not super interested in benchmarks.
Yeah, well,
and that's
probably
perfect. Neither am I. No, because benchmarks don't match reality.
Right.
I mean, I'm more interested in real world evaluation and comparison.
And they don't fare that well in the benchmarks. So
yeah, but Qualcomm doesn't fare well in benchmarks compared to
but it's how people use
an iPhone. But has anyone ever picked up a modern Android phone and been like, man, this thing's really slow? Like they're tremendously fast. They're just as fast as iPhones in real world use.
Yeah.
So you got something in your throat? But
no. Paul and I used to talk all the time on the show about how we wished Microsoft would be more on the offensive when
that's right.
Apple was doing a lot of stuff against them. And their attitude, though, was like, we're taking the high road. I'm like, guys, no one cares about the high road, right?
You're going to take the high road right into irrelevancy. So congratulations on that.
Take the low road. You'll all get to Scotland.
Well, no, I mean, you got to meet the enemy where they're fighting you.